Welcome! It's time to play Who Wants to Be a Thousandaire? Alright, to start us off, we have Marty here from San Diego. Marty, you look a little nervous.
Yeah, hey, what's up, you guys? Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Well, you're in luck because this episode is all about DistroKid.
Oh, I know DistroKid. I got this.
We shall see, Marty. Alright, here's your first question. Marty, for $5, your first question is, what is DistroKid?
Well, I want to go with A, but something about B feels right. Let's go with D.
Marty, are you sure?
No, I pick B.
That is correct! Alright, Marty, for $25, what services work with DistroKid?
I gotta go with D. I love D.
That is correct! Alright, Marty, only 2 questions left. For $750, as we know, DistroKid has a ton of features, including distributing cover songs legally, getting paid when others use your music on YouTube, managing music pages on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. There's even a music video generator. It only costs how much to upload unlimited albums and songs for a year?
I know this, it's C, but if you follow the link in the description, you save 7%.
Marty, you're a genius! All right, for $1,000, what is the first letter in the word DistroKid?
It's D?
Oh, so sorry, Marty. The correct answer is B, D.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, and we're going to do another little theory riff rundown, and this time it's an iconic song, once again, While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles. So I'm going to show you as much theory as I possibly can, because when we learn, the whole point is the more you learn what's going on, you can use this knowledge for your own musicianship and teach yourself things, become a better musician, use all these techniques and make your own music up, or it'll help you analyze other songs that are using the same concepts, which a lot of classic songs are using everything in this song as well. Now, you don't need to know music theory to become a great musician, but knowledge is great. Knowledge is power. And with great power comes great responsibility, and may the force be with you. Anyway, we'll break it down right now, but also real quick, be sure to check out the links in the description below. I've got a whole website, community-only live streams where you can chime in on video and ask me questions, and I can talk to you, through the screen, but face-to-face. I also have a bunch of amazing courses that will absolutely help you get better at guitar more than just watching YouTube. And it supports me, helps keep the channel alive, helps keep all this free content alive. We're about to do a half-hour deep dive right here. So I hope you guys dig it. Thank you again. Here we go. All right, a lot of fun stuff to talk about here. The first chord is A minor. I think of this song as being in A minor, in the key of A minor. Now, there's a natural minor, could also be called Aeolian if you're talking about the modes. But A minor has a relative major, meaning it's the same scale and same notes. So it comes from a major key. And so if you looked at, like, for instance, the easiest way for a guitar player, you look at the A minor pentatonic. That's the minor. That's the relative major. I've also showed that with plugging in the major pentatonic. So the relative major here is C major. So one of the first scales in the olden days of guitar lessons at music shops, they would work on the major scale in the open position a lot. The reason I point that out is that A minor, it's all the white keys on the piano. There's no sharps or flats. It's also A minor is all the same notes as C major. So if I played that same, that was me starting and ending it on the C note. C, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But if I just played that same group of notes and started and ended it on the 6th degree, which is an A note, it now feels like A minor, but nothing's changed. So the first theoretical term that I just showed you is called the relative major, relative minor, and that distance is the same. So like, for instance, if I'm playing a D major, the relative minor is B minor. If I'm playing G minor, the relative major is B flat major. So this is an important relationship in music theory. It's not really necessary to get good at guitar, but the more theory is there to be able to understand things, which then helps you teach yourself more new things and adds to your knowledge so you become a better musician. Like I think like Paul McCartney uses some of them, uses pretty much every aspect of music theory, but he couldn't tell you all the different terms and stuff. He just naturally knows it and uses it, but he uses it with his ear and his knowledge of learning all his favorite songs growing up, writing with other amazing writers and the Beatles, etc. So you don't have to know music theory, but I think it's really helpful. Okay, so that's the first thing. So the other thing that's happening here, which also happens in Stairway to Heaven, is a chromatic bass line. And when you say, my guitar gently weeps, crying, tears rolling down, chromatic going down kind of adds to that feeling. So the bass line's actually going like this of the main part. But it's got this little set of 3 half steps. No natural key or natural scale has 3 half steps like that. So it's going to use a little bit of outside of the key. But the easiest way to look at it is that it's in A minor. I'm going to show you what it uses outside of it, and then maybe you can use that knowledge in something on your own. So what's really cool is it does A minor, and it might sound like the next chord's G, but what it does, and you can do this in any key, instead of him playing, George Harrison wrote the song, instead of A minor to G, he keeps A minor, but then has the bass go down to G. And that just adds some new interesting color that's more interesting than a G chord. Even though the bass is making it feel like that descending to G, he keeps A and then hits the G. So you might see chord diagrams sometimes like a slash chord, like a letter, then a slash across, and then another letter. So that's what we have here, A minor slash G. So when you see those slash chords, the first half, or, it looks like a fraction. The first half of that fraction is the chord itself. The second half of that fraction is what's in the bass. We're going to see another one of those in this song. So we have A minor over G, or A minor slash G. And here's something that I think is really cool, because we're now going to go outside of the key. And this term, I'm keeping it as simple as possible, could be called a borrowed chord. That comes off. And what's really interesting, and I don't think George Harrison was thinking theory at all. He was just like, oh, I'll move this over there. It's more my Spinal Tap accent, but just having fun. So I just took a finger off and moved it over to that next half step down. Now, if I'm playing this note and that note, and that note, it still looks like it's still part of that A minor, but you can also see this little piece. That is part of a D7 chord. And look at that note. It's the same note as whatever I play on the low E in F sharp. So instead of playing a D7 like this, he's playing a D7 with that note in the bass. And so that'd be called an inversion or a slash chord as well. So it's just the notes of D7. Or even if an A is in there, an A note is part of D7 as well. If the open high E is in there, you could call it D9 because it's the ninth tone up from D in its corresponding scale, the interval. But we'll call it D7 over F sharp. Because we don't have a D in the bass, we have a different note from the chord in the bass, an inversion. So we have A minor over G, which is just part of the key of A minor, then D7 over F sharp. So this is not in A minor. A minor has a G major and an F major. And if you're thinking about D, it's actually a D minor is an A minor, which has an F natural. So how do we get D7 over F sharp? Really, I think the main point of it was to get that chromatic bass line going down. So you even have all of those notes in there. So really, I think he was just going for that dramatic chromatic bass line, and you try it, and does it sound good? Yes, it sounds good. I'm going to use it. Does it sound bad? I'm not going to use it. But music theory, A minor, the chords of A minor would be, if we just do the chords of C major, it's the same thing. I'll do that. C major is the 1 chord. D minor is the 2 chord. E minor is the 3 chord. F major is the 4 chord. G major is the 5 chord, which the 5 chord could also be a dominant 7, G7, but we'll just play G major and do that. The 6th chord's A minor, and then the 7th chord of a key is called minor 7 flat 5, B minor 7 flat 5. And it's not used in that way in really 99% of pop music. So we're just going to play 6 chords instead of 7. Those are the chords we have in the key of A minor. We can just play those chords but start and end them on with the A minor instead. That's just playing the, I skipped that 7 chord, but with that it would be chords of A minor. So it has a G, it's got an F, it's got a D minor. So it doesn't have a D major, but check it out. The relationship of A to D, that's a 4th. So if I just took bar chords, if I played A minor, I went to its, in the A key of A minor, its 4th away would be D minor. And then the 5th in a minor key from A minor would be E minor. So what's interesting is a major key has a 1, 4, 5 are the 3 major chords. A minor key, the 1, 4, and 5 of that are minor chords. So like if I played, you know, let's just pretend that Twist and Shout is an A major. And I said, let's play Twist and Shout, but let's play it in A minor. You could play it. But if you do a minor chord, and then you make the 4th of it a major chord or a dominant 7 chord, like we did with D7, even the inversion, or that's all D7. What you get is called A Dorian, which is like the happier of the minor keys. And so that's a mode. Minor chord to a fourth that's major, that's Dorian. But if you do a minor chord and the fourth is minor, that's the minor. Aeolian is the Aeolian and the minor scale are the same thing, two different ways to name it. So that's Aeolian or natural minor. That would be A Dorian. So what we're really doing now, the way I think of it, A minor over G, so part of A minor. D7, we're borrowing from A Dorian. F is back to the natural A minor. So it's just borrowing a chord from a mode. A minor over G is part of A minor, and then D7 over F sharp is part of A Dorian instead of A minor. Right back to A minor again with F. And now the rest of this is A minor again, G, but for real a G chord, that's part of A minor. So, borrowing from Dorian, back to A minor. Now he plays a regular D major. That's borrowing from Dorian again. Because it could be D7 or D major, normal, natural D major. That's A minor to D major. That's A Dorian again. So it's just borrowing one chord from a mode. A minor over G. That borrows from Dorian. Now we're back to natural minor again. Natural minor, Dorian. Then A minor would normally have an E minor. So hear what that would sound like. So we're so used to how the song really goes that when I play E minor, it sounds completely wrong. E7, which you can play it different ways. You can play it this way, do it that way. The difference between E major and E minor, or E7 and E minor, either one, is its third, the third of the chord. So to play an E major chord, or sorry, let's say an E minor chord, the three notes are E, which is the root, G is the minor third, and B is the fifth. To play E major, that minor third becomes a major third, which is a half step higher. So that'd be root, major third, which is G sharp, and the same fifth, B. So that's a chord formula. It's always, a major chord is always root, major third, perfect fifth. A minor chord is always root, minor third, perfect fifth. Now here's what's cool about making it. It does come from just how we borrowed D7 or D major from Dorian. When you make that minor 5 chord a dominant 7, you're now borrowing from A harmonic minor. And you don't have to know that, but you can, there's lots of songs that take a dominant 5 to a minor 1. A really famous one is the first two chords of Hotel California, B minor to its dominant 5, which would be F sharp 7. Check it out. I'm going going to show you why that tension is so great. Now let's go down a whole step, and that's what we have for While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Watch what happens when we look at that G sharp instead of G. G, now I'll play the third of D, but then the third of E, it's a half step below our root, our tonal center. E minor would be a whole step below. But when you do that half step and it's minor, it just pulls even harder to want to go to the A minor chord. And that's also going to be one of our juiciest notes when we're soloing. When you're playing, you can think of it as the A, even just the A minor pentatonic. I'm adding the tension notes from the chord progression there. Another E7. Now, if you just over the E7 only, if you just played the A harmonic minor scale, which sounds like this. Just running that scale really fast might not sound perfect for the song because it's so rock, blues, classic rock. But if you really lay into, or you know the notes of E major, sorry, that's not it. I'm sorry. Oops. That's from D major. Now let's do F right here. These are just the arpeggios of the chord progression. A minor again. G major. D major, E major. So if you practice those, but then just think pentatonic, sorry. Just emphasizing that G sharp wherever you can on the E7 chord will give you that great drama of the song. Let me talk about the other section of the song. You got A minor, G over G, D7, borrows from Dorian, F from A minor, G, that's all A minor, D is A Dorian again, E7 is A harmonic minor. So that's that normal progression, but finally goes A minor, G, C major to E. Now all that's doing is C. It's just giving you a different place to hop to for our ear, but it goes to that E again, or E7, which is the 5 chord of, instead of A minor, an E7 is the natural 5 chord of A major. So our ear hears that relationship of E7, but now it goes to A major, and it's a surprise, but we're doing a parallel major. So like the whole song so far has been in A minor, and then boom, this new section, it feels like we've landed in a new country or a new planet, but it's still somehow related. It's now the key of A major, and that other section is just all the chords of normal key of A major. The C chord is just part of A minor, so that's not doing anything that's out of the ordinary. That's still just part of A minor. But then this, E7, we've done that as a stronger 5 to A minor pull, but we could just we're going to switch keys. We're going to go to A major now. That E can transition right back to A minor. Our ear accepts it now. Like that. So let me show you the chords of A major just to prove that all the chords of that other section are just, there's no borrowed chords, no mode stuff. It's just the key of A major. So A major, if I start with this bar chord, 1 chord is A major, the 2 chord is B minor. The 3 chord is C sharp minor, the 4 chord is D, the 5 chord is E, and the 6 chord is F sharp minor, which we could play right here. So using just those E roots, it goes A to the 3. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so A, 1 to the 3, to the 6. To the 3. Oh, sorry, let me do that again. 1 to the 3. 6 to the 3. Down to 2. Then the 5, which is E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E. Now I'm just doing some A roots. 1, 3, 6, 3. Maybe just a little passing, the 2, then the 5. And the notes that Paul McCartney's going up on the bass line are just diatonic, meaning they're just part of the A major scale. And then we transition back to that A minor. So I hope that was helpful. All right, I hope you guys dug that lesson. Thank you again for your continued support. Really appreciate it. And be sure to go into the link below, get that free chord and scale book. Check out martymusic.com. It helps support everything I'm doing, including this very long, free lesson for you right now. Thanks for the continued support, and hope to see you again. Let me know other songs you'd like me to break down, the theory of in the comments below, and hope to see you again.